a good example of what it should not do. Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video, which, as you can probably tell from my overalls, once again is a workshop video. Now, in the last workshop video we covered repairing Haldex Generation 4, the all-wheel drive system used in Volkswagen's compact cars from around 2006 to 2013. Well, today we're going to cover repairing Haldex Generation 5, which is used in Volkswagen Group compact cars from about 2012 to the present day. So cars like the Mk7 Golf R, 7.5 R, throughout their production run they used Haldex Gen 5, Mk3 TTS, TTRS, 8V, Audi S3, of which there are hundreds around, and pretty much every transverse engine compact car in the Volkswagen Group, and some sort of commercial vehicles as well, were using this system. And unfortunately, they go wrong in exactly the same way as Gen 4. The oil changes just are not frequent enough. The oil sludges up, blocks the pump, and you have an inoperative pump, which means your all-wheel drive doesn't work. Okay, so we shouldn't really see any traction control intervention. It's turned off now anyway. We shouldn't see any wheel spin really. The car should just spin a little bit, maybe a quarter of a turn of a wheel, and then just load the back up and go. So let's see what this car does before repair. Yeah, that's a good example of what it should not do. So if you're getting that tramping noise, you've definitely got a problem. The rev counter just spun up there. Yeah, that was pretty obviously not right. Once again, we've partnered with haldexrepairs.co.uk to bring you this video. There's still a 15% discount available to you guys if you need some Haldex parts. The discount code is VOLKS15. So check out haldexrepairs.co.uk. There's loads of helpful advice out there. And you may not have a vehicle lift, but this job is actually much easier than Gen 4 cars because there's no filter to change. So I'm pretty sure you should be able to do this just on your driveway with some axle stands. Okay, before we have a look at the parts needed to repair this Mk7 Golf R, I just want to say quite often all you need to do is take out the Haldex pump, clean out the sludge from the gauze, refit it, use some new Haldex oil, and that may very well fix the problem. Above 40,000 miles though, there's a good chance the Haldex pump is so worn out it would be a false economy not to replace it. This car's done 80,000 miles, and who knows how many of those the Haldex pump hasn't been working on it for. It doesn't log a fault code, but because it's worn out, it's not very good at pumping the Haldex oil, and therefore you don't get the clutch engaging, you don't get all-wheel drive. So for the cost of this kit, which is just £215, including VAT, it would be foolish to do all this work and not replace the pump. And remember, you get 15% off with the Volks 15 discount code. So we've got a brand new Haldex pump here made by Borg-Warner. As it says on the box, genuine part, original equipment. Borg-Warner basically make the Haldex system for the Volkswagen Group. We've got Borg-Warner Haldex oil. We've got a new drain plug with washer, a new fill plug with washer. We've even got new bolts for the Haldex pump. We've got a syringe to inject the Haldex oil into the coupling with. You do need that because it's a bit awkward. And even some rubber gloves because Haldex oil is pretty nasty stuff. You'll also be glad to know that it doesn't need a lot of tools. We've got just 3 here. So we've got a 5mm Allen key to undo the fill. We've got an 8mm Allen key type bit to undo the drain. And we've got a T30 Torx driver to undo the 2 bolts that hold the pump on. That is it. Okay guys, let's get started then. As I said earlier, it's quite an easy job to do. There's no reason why you can't do it on your driveway. But if you're going to jack your car up, just make sure it's secure so it can't roll away or fall on you. Right then, where do we start? We need to drain the old oil out first. Now, you should do it when it's a bit warm, but it's not essential. Just make sure it has a good drain as best as you can do. So let's get the 8mm Allen key here. Now, I've loosened the bolts on this car before filming because it just makes it a lot easier and I don't have to edit it as much. So I'll do this by hand. They can be quite stiff though. Okay, that's nearly out. I'll just get some light because that's always handy, and it's late November now, so it's getting dark, but this is a time of year when you realise But your Haldex isn't working, at least here in the UK. Anyway, man, that's a big bolt. Okay, leave that to drain then. Right, next up, let's start on the pump. So that's T30. So make sure you don't undo the smaller torques there. It's just the two bigger T30s that actually bolts this bit of the pump to that bit of the pump. So yeah, it's just that one, which I've already loosened. And then top right. Okay, that's loose. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get the light up there. That's the top right. There. Okay, so just two bolts hold that on. Now, here is the Haldex control unit, and just there where my finger is the plug that powers the pump. So basically the Haldex control unit gets the signals from the car, processes them in this box, and then sends the power to the pump as required, which is on the other side of the diff. So there's one of those plugs like this on there. Hopefully you can see that. You push that tab down and pull it off. It's not the easiest position, but it's definitely easier than Gen 4 because you can actually see it. So you push it in with one hand and then release the clip with the other. Usually works. Okay guys, that plug was a little bit stubborn, so what I found was easiest to do was get a small screwdriver like this and to use it to release the tab like that. You can hear it click, and then with that released, then you can get in from the top. I can't really show you here, but you can get in like that and then push it back, and as you can see there, it's moving around a bit now, so that should be pretty much off. Yep, so that's the plug off there. It's got these clips holding it in place that should just pull up, so probably best to do that without the pump hanging off it. So let's see what we can do. Can't really show you, it's just impossible with it fitted to the car. But yeah, you can feel the two clips. So yeah, it's through. Blimey, they have thought about this. There's the other one. Yeah, that's through. So let's just work this out slowly. Oh, not bad. Okay, it's going to be some oil. Okay. Right. What we got? Okay, it's really only the loom holding that on there, so let's work this out here. I'm sorry about this, guys. It's all happening on top of the diff, so it's really hard to pick it up. But as I say, just refer to the new pump and the loom and you'll see what's going on. Okay, so this is the loom now, and that's the pump. So there we go, those are the clips. Okay, should we have a look at the pump then? Okay guys, well this it probably isn't the worst pump I've ever seen, because that's the strainer where the oil goes through, and it looks pretty clear to me. It's had a recent Haldex oil change, but that shouldn't have really helped clean it out, so that's surprisingly good, but it still doesn't work, and that's because it's done 80,000 miles. I mean, looking at the state of this pump, it looks like the original. It's definitely not been replaced recently. So yeah, even though it's not gunked up, it's still tired. So that's a really good reason why you need to be replacing it after 40,000 miles, because when you get them out and the strainer's so clear, there can only be one solution, that's to replace it. So yeah, I'm glad I'm doing the belt and braces job. Well, maybe that was the problem then, because where the strainer was sitting in there, that's where the sludge was. So that's actually going to affect the performance of the pump. So I take it all back. That is pretty nasty, yeah. So make sure you clean that out. Okay, right then. Alright, so it's virtually in, there's a few mil there, but what happened last time was that we fitted the new bolts and pulled it in very easily with those, so let's do that. So don't forget the brand new bolts. Okay, and then top right. Okay. Let's just put the drainer back where it needs to be. Okay, let's get some tools on there then. So T30 Torx, top right is there. You can also do it with looks like an 8mm socket, but there's not an awful lot of room between it and the body of the pump. Okay, that's the pump in then, so let's get the loom where we need it. So right now it's in completely the wrong place. And that's it, clipped in, brilliant. That's so much easier than Gen 4, so that's another good reason why this is much easier to do on your driveway, guys. Okay, so the plug, you can actually see it on this as well, so that helps me film it for you, so hopefully that's being picked up by the camera. That just push it on, you should hear the click. There you go, click. So that won't be coming off. So that's exactly as it was when it left the factory. Everything clips in properly, so that's great stuff. Right, now let's fill the oil. Now I should have said before you start draining it, you need to make sure the filler plug can be released, because these have been known to seize in on some cars, and you'll be in a lot of trouble if you drain it and you can't refill it. So let's take that out. We're going to replace it anyway. But first, let's replace the old drain plug with this shiny new one. It really is hard to get all the new plugs and washers from anywhere other than haldexrepairs.co.uk, because most people don't bother changing them. Okay, that's done, so I'm happy with that. Right, drain fill plug is out. All we need to do now is get that into this. Yeah, I don't think we need that. Okay, so that's a syringe. I didn't film this very well on the Gen 4 video, but this is what we're going to do. Put that in there and draw it in like that. $500. That's looking pretty full now, but we're gonna put the plug in, and we're gonna put the fill plug back into it, and we're going to do the learn process on the Haldex pump. These are slightly cleverer units than the Gen 4s because they adapt the pump to draw as much electricity as it needs to run and no more. So if it gets blocked up, the amount of electricity drawn by it is different to if it's running really well. So when you put a new pump in, you just have to tell it to learn how much power is a good pump or a new pump needs, and it adapts accordingly. So let's do that. I've just checked with haldexrepairs.co.uk, and you can only do this with a genuine cable. It does not work with OBD2 or China copy VCDS. Now, like you guys, I'm referring to Matt's guide at haldexrepairs.co.uk while I do it, so you can have this page open and just follow what he says. It's very, very thorough. Obviously you need to have VCDS, which you may not have, but if you can borrow it off somebody, it's worth the beer money, I can assure you. Okay, so we want basic settings. We want pump motor and we want to go. So it's doing something. Okay, I think that's done then. Right, we've done the pump learn function now. I just want to make sure it's got enough Haldex oil in it because it would have pumped oil around the system. So let's turn the engine off, lift it up in the air and just put a bit more in it if it will take any more. Okay, let's get another syringe full of Haldex oil. I've already taken the fill plug out so we can get straight in. Okay, it's taking a little bit more. Will it all come straight out again? No, that's gone in. Judging by that slurpiness, let's hope it doesn't need much more. We've got about 3/4 of a syringe full there. Okay, there's a bit of a trickle there, so let's see what happens now. Yeah, that's pouring out. So that was around 600 ml, which is the pretty standard fill for Haldex. Let's put the fill plug back in now, lower the car and go and see if the four-wheel drive on this Golf R finally works. Make sure you use your shiny new one. Do it as much as you can with your fingers because there's not an awful lot of room between it and the subframe, so you need it in quite a long way before you can nip it up with this, well, with a 5mm Allen. I'm using a small bar rather than a ratchet because it's a little bit slimmer. So actually that's feeling pretty snug already. Yep, that feels good. Okay, I'm just trying to find somewhere safe to do a test of the all-wheel drive system because even though we've done all the work by the book, there may be some other issue that means it doesn't work. So we've got to test it. Apparently main dealers do all that work, don't do the pump learn function, give the car back to the customer finds it's still two-wheel drive, and then they charge them 4 figures to replace the Haldex coupling. That is not unknown. So we've done it by the book, it should work. Now we've got the traction control on for the first try so you can see what happens when you're driving normally. And we're in comfort mode to give the car as much sort of lift at the front as possible so we can get the wheels spinning without loading up the clutch too much. So let's do it. So traction control kicked in really easy then, so I think we need to turn it off. You'll still get a little bit of it if you try hard enough. So let's turn it off. Okay. That's traction control off now, so let's do this. So yeah, no tramping, just a tiny bit of slip for the Haldex to know there's slip happening. Let's just try that again. It's a bit greasier down here. Nope, solid. So completely different to what we had before with the tramping and the rev counter just revving up with the speedo not moving. That is job done, guys. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this Volkswizard workshop video in partnership with haldexrepairs.co.uk. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. As ever, please do comment, please do share this video, and please do subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one, hopefully very soon.